Hello everyone, my name is Amy, this is the Opinionated Woman, and welcome back to my channel, and welcome back to an episode of Crafty Reads, where I do crafting and art of some form while I talk about the last 5 books that I read. This one I have decided, so this is what it came to look like at the end of the last time. So what I think it needs is a grey wash. So I have my Winsor & Newton watercolors, and I'm going to use Payne's Grey, and I'm just going to do a wash over it. So nothing crazy today. I think I need this as a base so that I can work on it further, but I have an idea about what I want to do. But yeah, let's just hop right into it. First book I finished was She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. Now, I read this book because it came so recommended. Oh my god, there were so many people going absolutely wild for this book. It was on a ton of different book clubs. I heard a lot of people talking about it having NB representation, non-binary representation, and that there was a certain scene. Basically, the way that I ended up picking this up is because the audiobook author came onto TikTok and spoke about an epic fantasy with sapphic fisting. And I found that very intriguing. Not that fisting is my thing personally. I just thought that was an intriguing premise. So I read it, and it's basically about a main character, Shu, who came from a very poor family, and in order to survive, she took on her brother's identity and got taken into this monastery, lived as a monk for like her whole life, like from when she was a child, nobody knowing she's actually a woman. And then it starts to get to where I have the issue here, because it turns out from years and years of reading fantasy, I am just not into the political battle side of fantasy. It's just not my thing. It goes right over my head. I don't like war. The sergeant this and general that, I couldn't be bothered, I really couldn't be bothered. So I realized that during this book, but I did want to finish it because it is well written, and the explorations that it does have about gender, I really, really appreciated. I thought those parts were really valuable. So I think a book that was more focused on that rather than political gain would have been excellent for me. But I did appreciate what they did have. There's this instance where Shu is, there's a sapphic fisting thing, so obviously somebody knows that she is in a female body. And she talks about her body, and the woman that she's with talks about her body in a way where she's like, this is a woman's body, but how can it be a woman's body if I inhabit it and I am not a woman? And then Ma talks about how she falls in this in-between, and she did not see her as and I'm using she, her pronouns because they did, but Ma did not see her as wholly a man or a woman. She saw her in that in-between period, which is such a beautiful way that they describe this non-binary existence without fully, using those terms. So I thought that part was really great, but I think this is a series, but I'm not going to be continuing the series because it's just this style of book for me. If you like political style fantasies and that kind of thing, really go for this. It's beautifully written, and it's probably very well done in that kind of respect if you enjoy that style of writing. That wash is already doing a good job. Nice. Then I decided that I was trying to break my thriller curse, because the amount of thrillers that I have read that have ended up like really disappointing for me. You'll see if you watch any of my One Last Try series. A lot of the books that I've been picking up have been American or British and written by white authors, except no one else is watching. That Alyssa Cole thriller, that was pretty good. That would have been a really good movie, actually. But I have been having trouble with getting thrillers that I really enjoy. So I decided, fuck it, let's go with a Korean thriller that I found and a Nigerian thriller to try and see if I can find something that's a little bit more to my taste. So I picked up two very short thrillers. The first one was Lemon by Yosin Kwan. And first of all, this cover, oh, gorgeous, gorgeous. This is how it got my attention on Scribd, and then I read the blurb and I was like, okay, I'm going to read this. And Lemon is basically following some different perspectives of people who were involved with this girl who got murdered. And her killer was never found. So the main character, I guess, is the sister, who didn't have a very good relationship with with her in the beginning at all, or when she was alive. They were very, very different. One was like, kind of nerdy, very studious. Her sister was more wild and free and popular and things like that. And she's the one that gets murdered. And it's not even about finding out who and why and stuff like that. It's more, so it's not thrilling in that kind of way. It's more psychological in the way that it does it. So the sister, I can't remember her name, just why I just keep saying sister, starts getting plastic surgery when she's older. This is not a spoiler. To look more like her dead sister, which is really, really fucking creepy. And then we also get these parts from this sort of unnamed narrator who's speaking to a psychologist, and you don't get the psychologist's side of the conversation. We only get to hear her, which makes her sound really fucking deranged. Like, it sounds like she's having this crazy inner monologue about these wild events that happened, and it's really well done, really, really well done. Like, that's the part of that book that really stuck with me the most. But I wouldn't say that it's necessarily incredibly thrilling. Then for that same vlog, I picked up The Baby Is Mine by Oyunkan Braithwaite. This is the author of My Sister the Serial Killer, as we all know. Great book, really good thriller. So this one had a very similar vibe in the way that it's very insular, and it's very quick. But what we get across in that short amount of time is very impressive. So we're following our main character, Bambi, who has broken up with his girlfriend during the pandemic. And he goes to move in with his aunt. He's not got really anywhere else to stay. And his uncle died from COVID. So he's stuck in this house with his aunt and his aunt Bidemi, and this other woman, Isoe. And Isoe was his uncle's mistress. So his uncle got Bidemi and Isoe pregnant at the same time. So when he gets to this house, there's a baby in the house, but both women are claiming to be the mother of that baby. And because it's COVID, they can't get a maternity test. So one of them is obviously having a mental break and is not going to be able to look after this child. Neither of these people seem like they should be looking after this child. But it's like we're stuck in this weird, very claustrophobic situation where dramatic things keep happening, fights keep happening, tribal signs get gouged into the baby's forehead. It's all really fucking dramatic and inherently creepy at the same time. I think Oyunkan Braithwaite writes so viscerally, using not too many words, and I found it creepy as hell. Like, was it a twisty thriller? No. But was it unnerving and made me feel uncomfortable? Yes. So I really think she did it well. And I'd be keen to see if this author would write something a little bit longer, because I like short things, but I really need to dig in, and sometimes, and like I do like a big book, so I would like if maybe she wrote something touch longer the next time. Now I'm just gonna have to do this freaking freeballing because this wash is drying and it's not watercolor paper, so it really needs to be left. But I'm liking the textures. That's what's cool about sometimes using watercolor on non-watercolor paper, is it does some weird things to the paper, and it's fun. But I am going to have to put something heavy on this to make it flat. But I'll just chat about the last two books. The next one I read was also a thriller. It was one recommended to me by my brother, and he recommends me some really cool and really fucking weird books. Like, if Phil recommends me a book, I know it's going to be cool and weird. So I read How to Kill Your Family by Bella Mackie. And this book is so interestingly told. Like, think of like Dexter almost, you know? She has decided that because her father, you know, rejected her mother, like she's the product of a fling, and he's a billionaire, and she's like, well, fuck this guy, I'm gonna kill your whole family. And she very matter-of-factly talks you through these different murders and how justified she is in these murders and how inconvenient these people are when she can't murder them in the specific way at the specific time that she wants to. And it's so entertaining. It's so entertaining. Like, she's a horrible person. The people she's killing are also horrible, which makes it a very interesting book to read, and very entertaining. And we start off the book and she's in prison. So you're like, okay, she's talking about how she's killed her family. This is why she's in prison. And then you find out something. And then you find out why she is actually in prison. And it is really fucking funny. I just thought this book was so well done. So I managed to find a thriller that was by a British author in the long run that was good. But I don't think it's the... I don't know, it was just... It's not so much a thriller because you know who did everything, but the descriptions of some of the deaths are really freaking rank. So yeah, I can understand how it would be thrillery for sure. There's an unexpected gem, that one. I do recommend it. It is on Scribd if you want to grab it. And then the last one, the only physical book in this one, because I listen to so many short and sharp audiobooks, and that's The Judgement of Paris by Ross King. This is about the Salon in Paris, which is a juried exhibition, and they would basically decide who's who and what's what in the French art world every single year. Artists would submit their work, they would get accepted or rejected, and then they would be displayed in alphabetized rooms. And it was very much ruled by a very specific type of artist, like they liked a lot of historical paintings at that point. Very realistic, you know, like Delacroix. So the way that Ross King does this is he takes two artists, one that was really popular in the Salon, Ernest Meissonier, and then one that was really not, Edouard Manet. And Meissonier is sort of the type of artist that they really liked at the time, but also the type of art that was going out, or that was going to be going out once this new uplift of artists arrived and were the Impressionists. And it was just so interesting seeing the political climate, how it affected art, the different ways that the Salon changed, the bureaucracy behind it, the amount of incredibly famous works that got so hardcore rejected by the Salon is just insane. I mean, they even, like, a bunch of artists that ended up being Impressionists made an exhibition at one point. It was Renoir, Monet, Manet, Pissarro, Cézanne. But all of them. They set up an exhibition, and there was a piece of Monet's there, and they were like, well, what do we call this? I think Renoir was like, well, what do we call this? And he's like, just call it Impression Sunrise. And that's where the name Impressionism came from. So we build up until that point in here, like all these artists trying to get their way into the French consciousness and failing, and they actually ended up being such incredible like artists of our time, like they made an era in art. So it was incredibly fascinating, and because Ross King is such a great nonfiction writer, he made it interesting from beginning to end. So yeah, if you like art history, look up Ross King. His stuff is all good. And with that, that's another Crafty Reads. Done and dusted. I hope you did enjoy. Please let me know if you liked it by giving me a like, maybe commenting, and even subscribing. That would be so nice of you. And tickle my bell for notifications, and I'll take you next time.